Hi everyone. Today we have Amelia Kallman. Is that how you pronounce?
Yeah.
Yeah, with us. She's a leading London futurist, speaker, and an author. She regularly writes, consults, and speaks on the impact of new technologies on the future of business and our lives. Her articles are often featured on Wired UK, IBC 365, and The Big Reveal. She is known as an expert on the emerging risk of the new realities, VR, AR, MR, which I think we'll be discussing that during this interview, and have recently completed authoring a cutting-edge report for Lloyd's of London. And she also specializes in the future of retail. Retail has always been my interest. We've done few events in the retail industry under IoT in retail. So we'll be discussing some of the points in detail as well. So Amelia, I'd like to start by asking to explain a little bit more about your work on the emerging risk of the new realities. What is it? And I think many people won't know what does it mean by this. So if you can, yeah.
Yeah. So as a futurist, it's my job to look at the new and coming technologies and their potential impact on the future of business as well as the future of our lives. And it's really easy to focus on, the hype and the opportunities and all the great ways that we can actually use these technologies. But one thing that people don't often look at is the possible dangers or repercussions. And for me, I think it's a really important thing to look at from the beginning so that we know what we can be expecting, what we're prepared for in the future. And yes, there are so many great opportunities, but it's also just really important that we have our minds open to the ways that it might affect us as human beings, both mentally, physically, from a data perspective, and just from a security perspective too. So with the new realities, which I include virtual, augmented, and mixed realities, I had actually been the former, somebody who, talked about the great ways we can use this in business, things like marketing, collaboration, holoportation, all these really cool things. And there are so many great opportunities. But then about 2 years ago now, I started working with Lloyd's of London, the insurance company. And they're interested in it from a risk perspective. And so I started to research in this area, and what I found was it was like Pandora's box. Kind of as soon as you started to dive into it, all these different new areas of emerging risks start to pop up. So I ended up diving very deep into it, and what was supposed to be kind of a 20,000 word report turned into 70,000 words, and it's something now that I feel really passionate about talking about. So the risk areas that I kind of broke it down into were the human risks, both physical and mental. So physical, there's the, falling over, tripping over something, which is kind of the obvious one. People ask about your eyes, if it's okay for people's eyes, and there has been nothing that says that it's any worse than looking at your phone. The things that they do have, the restrictions around age limits and stuff, those aren't based on any research or facts. That's one thing to keep in mind about the new realities, because it is such an industry in its infancy that we don't have any long-term studies on it. So we are making the history up of it as we speak. One thing that's interesting, though, about the physical possible implications is that we know that that they can be hacked. So for a virtual reality system, it has no security built into it. So if your computer is susceptible, to be hacked, that means that people can hack virtual reality experiences. So for instance, a couple years ago, there was this big thing about on YouTube with Peppa Pig and parents putting their kids down in front of YouTube, but they were these videos that had been hacked, and Peppa Pig was getting her head blown off and all this kind of stuff.
Yeah, I heard that.
so hacking content, and we've actually been able to prove that you can hack content within virtual reality the same way. So the possible, if you see something in VR, because it engages multiple senses, it can be that much more real and that much more traumatizing to somebody. So, but to take that hacking thing one step further, you can also hack boundaries. So in the HTC Vive, you have this grid that says, don't walk past this area, or you're going to, walk into a wall or fall down the stairs. And those can be hacked as well. So, that's from the physical perspective. But then from the mental perspective, there's things like gaming transfer phenomenon. So we have seen this now in 2D gaming, that people who are spending a lot of time in gaming start to see and hear things from those games inside their natural world. And because because these experiences engage the brain so much more deeply, that the risk of this happening, more extreme cases, is a definite potential risk. I mean, I have friends who develop within these virtual worlds, and they come out at the end of the day of work, and they say, like, it's my instinct to walk into traffic, because inside virtual reality you can walk into traffic and nothing happens. There's no consequences. So you have this location.
This is too serious. I mean, I know my friends, their kids are too much into technology and video games. So when they are not playing games, they have lost the social connection. They can't see eye to eye, and they can't make a connection and talk to you properly. As when we were kids, we were able to do that. So these things are risks. Yes, I agree. So other thing that I wanted to ask was that these are the risks, but there are industries who are promoting these kind of technologies, and they want us to use it. So what are the industries which are most common, and who are using them most and want us to use it? Is it the retail industry, or is it like in the retail industry as well? As you can see, they have virtual systems where they can assess your buying patterns, and then you have a virtual mirror where you can change and dress. So are the which industries are encouraging this most?
Yeah, there's so it's really interesting, because there was kind of this boom around consumer headsets, but actually now where the biggest growth is happening is within enterprise. So it coming into businesses, and this year I think the statistics are that over 50% of enterprises have trialed or incorporated virtual reality into their businesses. So I'm seeing lots of different areas. So for instance, healthcare, there's been the classic cases that it can help to relieve phobias, which is still true, but now we're seeing it as part of training. So for instance, before you go into an MRI machine, people can have panic attacks. So they're using virtual reality as a way to be able to train somebody, walk them through the process, and then also be able to calm people down. So you can also use it as a meditation tool, as a way to give people a sense of control, and also to know what to expect. Also, it's being used in training. Fundamental surgery VR is a really good example. They use a combination of virtual reality and haptics to be able to train people in giving surgery. So the thing about, we've been able to prove with augmented reality that it can actually accelerate the training process by up to 87%. And that is a huge cost savings to businesses. So for instance, in oil and gas, if you have to send somebody or infrastructure, if you have to send somebody out to an oil rig or up to like a wind turbine to repair it, these things only happen once every couple of years, and there's only a limited amount of experts on this in the world. So how do you prepare someone for the contingencies of what might happen when they're up there? So we're able to use AI in these scenarios as well to create scenarios based on real data, so that people are able to train to do these things that would be very expensive and very time consuming to train on in person.
Correct. So as you've explained clearly, there are risks and there are benefits of virtual reality, VR, AR, MR. So I think, do you think there should be educational institutions who should promote and educate people of the disadvantages of them more than what we have now, and more focus on the benefits mostly? I don't think we educate as parents. We are so much aware of the disadvantages, and
Yeah.
I also don't think there are enough educations. Like you have done a lot of work. I think you're writing a book as well, but there are not many people who tell us the disadvantages. Do you think it should happen more?
Absolutely, absolutely. And I haven't even started on the data risks that we're looking at. Data is the biggest, is the biggest minefield of the future, and because it increases the landscape of potential entry, for hacking, cybersecurity points of entry, included into the IoT. It's all interconnected. So even AI, machine learning, IoT, the new realities, all these technologies are becoming more and more intricately connected. So things that we could look at emerging, the black market. They always say that virtual reality is a great place to do things that are too exclusive or expensive or dangerous. It can also be a place to do things that are illegal. And then I think there's a problem there because it is this infinite white space, and it has no sovereignty. There is no governance of it. So
Yeah.
when it comes to things like exchanging money, where we can actually do this now, we can make payments in virtual reality, mixed reality, and this is stuff that I work with clients on all the time. But as we're doing that too, and we're being able to make money off of digital assets, the questions arise: what are we actually buying? We're buying ones and zeros. Who's this intellectual property? Who's responsible for it? Same kind of questions we're asking around AI as well. So yes, I absolutely think that there is a lot of room for people to look at the possible
Okay.
downside,
Yeah.
and
Great.
people do. There's not a lot out there, so I actually I think that's why I got so involved in my research, is because it is such a new industry and there's not as much research out there as you would think, and we can't rely on governments and stuff to do this. They're behind already, and but as people in this industry, we have a responsibility to educate ourselves and educate others in this area. So.
Okay. Perfect. So I think let's move on to the next part of the interview, where I wanted to focus on the retail side of it, where you have done a lot of research in the retail industry. And one of the things that in our writing I have experienced is that most of the people are confused in the retail industry where to invest in technology. There are a lot of noises, technology noises thrown at them, disruptions. Can you help them by giving like 2-3 examples? What are the top 3 things that are changing in the retail industry, and how and what decisions can they make? I know it's a very long question to answer, but in summary, how would you help them understand the latest technology trends in retail?
Sure. Well, the one that has me the most excited at the moment is Web AR, so augmented reality that is accessible to everyone just through their mobile phone. It crosses every single mobile platform. You don't need to download an app to interact with it, and there's great possibilities here. And I've actually been working with some clients on this already. So basically, you can hold your phone up to something, and this augmented reality, you get this digital layer of extra value that can come. And we can send people on scavenger hunts. So what this can do is drive people to certain parts of the store. It can drive people to interact with different products. So you kind of collect all of them. And then at the end, you can be offered a discount or a free ticket or something like that. And what's great about doing it with your mobile is we already are connected financially with our mobile. So if it offers me a discount, if you purchase within the next 20 seconds, we give you 50% off. Do you want it? All I have to do is put my thumbprint down and it's mine, so it's creating this completely frictionless customer experience. But what it also does is it goes to the customer, it doesn't make the customer come to you. Everybody's already on their mobile all the time, and it's in their hands. And, and that's how we can use it. So a really good example of that was LegoWare just recently did an installation with Snapchat in London, where they had a store that appeared to be empty. But then anybody who was on Snapchat could use the app to go in, and then all of a sudden there were clothes, there were celebrities, there were products, all these different things that they could see only through their phone. And what that did was that created this sense of, event, a sense of it being special, wanting to capture it, share it immediately, and it gained a lot of attention, and it was very cool. So that's the one that I'm probably the most excited about, and anything that uses the mobile. So another way that you can use the mobile to interact is same idea. You can have signage that is maybe on the outside of a building, and when you close your shop at 6 o'clock, you can still have signage that people can interact with via their mobile. So say it's watches or something, and you can flip through and look at the ones you want, and then if you want to save one or send it to your email address, you can do that. You can use those kind of things in bars where you can start to gamify it, compete with your friends. And then also adding in extra senses to the virtual reality experiences, I think are going to bring retail to the home soon enough as well. So when we can see products and then be able to try on different designers at the same time, and then also be able to feel and touch the products. So I'm working with a company now called Ultra Haptics, and they produce sono technology, so you can feel shapes and textures in midair. And you don't have to put on a wearable. You don't have to do anything. All a person has to do is put their hands out, and it creates this new level of engagement. And you don't even need to do it through a headset. So interactive movie posters. So for instance, like if you had Yoda and he was sending out the Force, you would be able to feel the Force, and it's absolutely delightful. The first thing everybody does is smile, and it's just about engaging people in a new way that's a bit surprising.
Interesting. So these all, I think, not only retail, all the other industries are doing something in the area of technology, and they are all thinking about how future is ahead of us, and then making the right investments. I think John Lewis is doing a lot of. They already have started using these new technologies for their customers, understanding and behavior.
There's also, voice interaction is continuing to grow and be huge, and needs to start to be thought about integrating within all our journeys and processes in retail going forward. And then also another one that I'm excited about is using EEG, or brain computer interface. So we have one hooked up to our Oculus Go, where it's a collaboration with MindPlay. And you can actually be shown different pictures of vacation sites, and the one that you have the most biological brainwave reaction to, and at the end they can say, this is the vacation that we think is right for you. And that level of personalization and surprise is also really cool.
So interesting. So now let us talk about yourself a little bit. And I think I was reading somewhere on your profile that you have written a multi-award winning book. So just wanted to ask, what is this book about, and what audience should be buying this book?
Sure, thank you. So the book is called Diary of a Shanghai Showgirl. So I used to have a completely different life before I was a futurist. I was an entrepreneur. I opened up the first burlesque and cabaret nightclub in China in 2007. And it was called Chinatown, and it was amazing. We brought a whole new form new art form to China for the very first time. So that's what the book is about. And it's very much a Westerner's perspective on doing business and the challenges of doing business within China. So I actually got thrown out of China. So it didn't end very well for me. So all that story is in the book. And so I think anybody who's interested in doing business with China, I think it's a really kind of good insight into what you might be able to expect. It's also really fun and kind of sexy and entertaining. So at the moment is with a producer in LA, and they might be turning it into a TV series. So we'll see.
Oh, great. I think what you've mentioned, many people would be interested in this book if they are interested in doing business in China, as you've suggested.
Yeah.
And if you remember, you participated in a competition, in a writing competition, TW17 with the RPN News. How was that experience? This is just.
Oh, it was great. I came in 5th place.
Yeah. And I think your what I have checked in the research, yours was most researched. I mean, there were people who were doing push promotion to win the competition, but yours was most organic, I think. And you ended up 5th out of 60 people who participated, which was great. So yeah, so it is pretty. Do you want to say anything about it?
Oh well, yeah, I was really fascinated by that. It was a while ago now, so I don't remember all the details, but it was about blockchain, but also about how David Bowie was kind of actually the first person to look at blockchain for music. So yeah, I thought it was a really cool thing to discover, and it's worth a read if you haven't read it yet. So.
Yeah, I did, and I think you've written another one which is also very interesting read, and I think our readers really like you to write more on the European News.
Oh, thanks. I'd love to. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, so Amelia, it was very interesting to talk to you, and maybe in future, if you pick up another topic, and we will maybe I'll buy your book and then see what's more interesting. If I have any question, then we can discuss more about your book as well. So I'll just pause the recording, stop the recording now.
Okay.
Do you want to say any final things, and then we can?
The only thing would be about my independent innovation newsletter. I don't know. I do one that goes out once a month that has my top 10 coolest things I've seen. It's free. It's just a service that I offer. If that's not too promotional for you.
What is it? What is it? If you can explain a little bit more.
Yeah, sure. It's called The Big Reveal. It's an independent innovation newsletter that I send out to my contacts once a month, and it has my top 10 coolest new things that I've seen that I think people and businesses should know about. So yeah, and it's a free service that I offer. It's just a way to stay up to date with the latest new and coming technologies.
No. I think people who have read your articles would definitely wanted to read more. So I think good that you've mentioned that, and people who would be watching this would definitely be. Is there any website where they can go and check?
Yeah, so on my website, ameliakallman.com, and it's also a YouTube station, so if you don't want to read something, you can subscribe and watch me do it as well.
Oh, okay, great. So thanks, Amelia. You have a lovely weekend. I think, I don't know how's the weather there. It's not very sunny here. And enjoy your rest of the day.
Okay, thank you so much. Take care.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.